What is going on, guys? Welcome to Greggles TV Daily, your source for daily tech news. Make sure you subscribe so you know what's going on in the world of tech. How is everyone doing? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today's story is about should Samsung bring back their action button, their Bixby button, because the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max now have an action button. They got rid of the mute button on the side here, the volume, so you could mute things, the sounds of your phone, and they now have an action button. The action button will allow you to do a plethora of things. Here's a little video that I found on Twitter from this guy. You can change it from focus to camera to flashlight and some other things, shortcuts, things like that. You can really add a lot of functionality into that, and I think ultimately it's going to be a really, don't get me wrong, this is not a new button to phones. Android phones have had it, Galaxy phones have had it. There's a lot of inexpensive phones that still have buttons like these. I've covered them recently. But as you know, when Apple does things, sometimes we either Android phones will revert back to doing those things again, or they'll begin doing those things if they haven't ever. And I have to think that if Apple's doing an action button, that there's a good probability that Samsung will go back to giving us an action button again. And it makes me wonder, would I want that? And is it even worth it at this point? Because the nice thing with Android, at least Galaxy, actually any phone, but Galaxy phones as well, is that when you double press the power button, you can open up the camera. Now, you might want a dedicated action button like you can on the iPhone, because iPhones can't double press the power button going into the camera. It's one of the best things I love about Android is double pressing that power button and going into the camera. But to add on to that, what would I use the action button for if it was on a Galaxy phone, for instance? Well, you had the Bixby button and there was like hacks you could do so that you could do basically anything you want, from long pressing it and it would turn on your flashlight, or double pressing it and it would open up your camera or your browser or your flashlight or something like that. There's a multitude of things. And obviously if we had that Bixby button or action button, whatever Samsung would want to call it, then it would make more sense, and so that we didn't have to hack it. And just anybody could go into the settings like you can on an iPhone and customize it to our wants and needs. And I have to admit, I definitely wouldn't not want it. If they came back with it, I definitely wouldn't want it to be a dedicated Bixby button or a dedicated Google Assistant button. I'd want it to be a button that I personally can customize and change it to something that I personally want. And I think that's important to have. So I'm all in for it. I hope Samsung does bring it back. I wouldn't think any less of them if they did and they quote copied Apple on this instance, because Apple's has it and Samsung doesn't. And I don't think Samsung's had it since, I was looking back in the news, I think it was Galaxy S10 or something like that is the last time they had it, which is a really long time ago. So let me know your thoughts. Would you want an action button to come to the Samsung Galaxy phones again, or would you be like, nah, I don't want it? I would. Again, as long as it's not a dedicated assistant button and I can change it to anything that I personally want, that's when I would want it. But let me know what you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you down the road. Peace.